You think attraction is about looks. You think it's about money, status, youth. But here's what most younger men never understand, and what older men quietly master. It's not about what you show her. It's about what you make her feel, in just 2 words. And those 2 words, they don't chase her. They don't beg. They don't flatter. They awaken something inside her she didn't even know was sleeping. Welcome to Female Code Unlocked, where we decode female psychology, attraction dynamics, and the silent emotional triggers that most men will never see. If you want to understand women on a deeper psychological level, not surface-level advice, but real insight, subscribe now. Because what you're about to learn isn't taught, it's observed. Now listen carefully. Older men don't rush. They don't overtext. They don't perform. They observe. And when the moment is right, they lean in slightly, not physically, but emotionally, and they say 2 simple words. I noticed. That's it. Not you're beautiful. Not you're amazing. Not I like you. I noticed. You have no idea how powerful that is, because most men look, very few notice. There's a difference. When you tell a woman, I noticed you get quiet when the room gets loud, you're not complimenting her, you're seeing her. When you say, I noticed you smile differently when you talk about your sister, you're not flirting, you're understanding her. And here's what happens inside her mind. She feels psychologically safe. She feels observed in a way that isn't invasive, but attentive. And attention is the rarest currency in a distracted world. Younger guys throw attention at her body. Older men direct attention at her behavior, her emotional shifts, her patterns. That hits deeper. Because attraction for a woman isn't just visual. It's emotional recognition. Imagine this. You're sitting with her at a cafe. She's laughing, telling stories, playing confident. Everyone thinks she's the bold one. But you notice something. Every time the conversation turns personal, she touches her necklace. You wait. Later, when it's just the 2 of you, you say quietly, I noticed you play with your necklace when things get personal. Now watch what happens. Her eyes pause. Her smile softens. Because in that moment, she realizes you weren't just hearing her. You were reading her. And being read deeply is intoxicating. Here's the dark psychology behind it. Women are constantly evaluated for their beauty, their weight, their age, their attractiveness. But rarely are they emotionally analyzed with care. When you say, I noticed, you position yourself as the man who sees beneath the surface. You subtly communicate. I pay attention. I understand nuance. I'm not easily distracted. And that signals maturity, stability, masculine emotional intelligence. Older men don't try to impress her, they try to understand her. And understanding creates emotional tension. Because now she wonders, what else does he see? What else has he noticed? Does he see through me? And when a woman feels that you see her patterns, her defenses, her little tells, she feels both exposed and drawn in. It's not manipulation, it's awareness. But awareness, when delivered calmly, feels powerful. The key is this. Don't say it like an interrogation. Say it like a quiet observation. Not judging, not analyzing her flaws. Just revealing that you were present. I noticed you get protective when someone jokes about your work. I noticed you don't trust compliments easily. I noticed you test people before you open up. Now you're not chasing, you're decoding. And that makes you different. Most men talk, few men observe. Older men know. Silence first, observation second, 2 words third. I noticed. And when she realizes you're not just looking at her, but understanding her, something shifts. Her guard lowers slightly, her curiosity rises, her emotional energy leans toward you. Because attraction isn't about being the loudest man in the room. It's about being the one who sees what others miss. And this is only the first layer of those two words. Because how you say them, when you say them, and what you attach to them changes everything. Good. Now, let's go deeper. Because I noticed only works when it's layered with something older men understand instinctively: restraint. You see, younger men expose everything at once. They tell her exactly how they feel. They flood her with validation. They over-explain. Older men? They leave space. And space is where attraction grows. When you say, "I noticed," and then pause, just slightly, you create psychological tension. That pause tells her, there's more he sees, there's more he understands, and he's not in a hurry to reveal it. That's power. Imagine this scenario. She's telling you about her past relationship. She laughs it off, says she's over it, acts unaffected. Most men would respond with reassurance, or try to compete with the ex. But you stay calm. You look at her, steady. And you say quietly, "I noticed you went cold when you mentioned his name." Then silence. Now watch what happens internally. Her nervous system shifts. Because you didn't attack, you didn't judge, you didn't try to rescue, you simply observed. And observation without emotional chaos signals control. Control signals safety. Safety builds attraction. Here's the psychological layer most men miss. Women are constantly reading men for emotional stability. When you can notice subtle emotional changes without reacting impulsively, you demonstrate that you're grounded, that you're not easily triggered, that you don't need her to perform for you. And that's rare. Older men don't chase reactions. They notice reactions. There's a huge difference. Let's go deeper. The second variation of those two words, the one that hits even harder, is this: I understand. Not loudly, not dramatically, softly, measured, earned. Because I noticed makes her feel seen. But I understand makes her feel emotionally met. Picture this. She tells you she hates relying on people, that she prefers handling things alone. Most guys would say, "That's strong," or "You don't have to be alone," but you lean back slightly and say, "I understand." No lecture, no fixing, just presence. And when she looks at you like she's about to explain more, you add gently, "I noticed you don't ask for help unless you really trust someone." Now you've combined both triggers, observation and understanding. This is where older men dominate emotionally. They don't try to change her. They validate her patterns without feeding them. And here's the dark psychology twist. When a woman feels understood, especially in places she doesn't openly admit, she subconsciously associates you with emotional relief. Relief feels addictive. Because most of her life, she's performing strength, confidence, control. When you understand the cracks in that armor without exploiting them, you become the calm in her storm. And she won't say it out loud. But she'll start leaning in more. Texting first sometimes. Opening up faster, watching you differently, because you're not competing for her attention, you're commanding her emotional curiosity. Older men don't win by intensity, they win by insight, and insight feels intimate. Remember this, don't overuse these words. If you say, "I noticed," every 5 minutes, it loses impact. Use it when it matters, when you truly observe something meaningful. And when you say, "I understand," make sure you actually do. Women can sense fake empathy instantly, but genuine, controlled empathy? That's magnetic. Now here's where it becomes even more powerful. There's a specific moment, a specific emotional state, where using these two words creates almost irreversible attraction. And most men completely miss that window. Now pay attention, because this is the moment most men ruin everything. The emotional window. It opens when she's slightly vulnerable, but pretending she's not. Not when she's crying, not when she's broken, but when she lets a small crack show, then quickly covers it. That's the moment. Maybe she jokes about being too much. Maybe she says, "I always mess things up," and laughs. Maybe she shrugs and says, "It's fine, I'm used to it." That's not weakness, that's a test. She's revealing a microfracture in her armor to see who notices and who ignores it. Most men ignore it. They stay on the surface. Older men don't. Older men slow down. They look at her, not intensely, not dramatically, just steady. And they say quietly, "I noticed you say that," like you don't believe it. Silence. That's it. Now her mind starts racing because you didn't reassure her, you didn't argue, you didn't try to fix her self-image. You simply revealed that you caught the contradiction, and contradiction awareness creates emotional intimacy. Here's the dark psychology layer most men never understand. Attraction increases when someone feels emotionally understood without being emotionally chased. When you calmly expose a hidden insecurity, without exploiting it, she feels seen. But more importantly, she feels safe being seen. Safety plus mystery. Magnetic tension. Let's make it real. She tells you she's fine being single. But her voice drops slightly. Her eyes shift away. You don't debate her. You don't try to convince her she needs a man. You just say, "I understand why you'd say that." Pause. "And I noticed your tone changed a little." Now you've done something powerful. You've validated her defense and gently exposed it. That balance is rare. Most men either challenge too hard or comfort too quickly. Older men stand in the middle, calm, grounded, unreactive. That emotional neutrality creates gravity. Because she realizes you're not easily swayed. You're not trying to win her approval. You're observing her like a composed detective, not a desperate admirer. And that flips the dynamic. She starts wondering what else you see. She becomes slightly self-conscious, but not in a bad way, in a curious way. And curiosity is the seed of pursuit. Here's another scenario. She says she doesn't trust men. Most guys defend themselves immediately. "I'm not like that." But you? You hold eye contact. "I understand." Then softer. "I noticed you test people before you let them close." Now she feels decoded. And decoding, when done calmly, feels intimate. You're not chasing her validation, you're reading her emotional patterns. And when a woman feels emotionally read by a stable man, she relaxes because she no longer has to perform. Now listen carefully. This doesn't work if you're insecure. This doesn't work if you're trying to manipulate. Women sense energy before words. Your tone must be steady, your posture relaxed, your delivery unforced. Older men attract not because they talk better, but because they react less. Their nervous system is calm, and calmness in a man feels like protection. Protection feels primal. Primal feelings override logic. That's why she won't be able to explain why she feels drawn to you. She'll just say, "I feel comfortable with you." But what she really means is, "You see me, and you're not shaken by what you see." That's powerful. But there's one final layer to these two words. The layer that turns comfort into desire. Because comfort alone isn't attraction. There needs to be a subtle edge. And that edge is what separates a wise older man from just a nice one. Now here's the final layer, the edge. Because if all you create is comfort, you become safe. And safe without tension becomes predictable. Older men understand something younger men don't. Attraction isn't built on comfort alone. It's built on contrast, warmth with distance, understanding with mystery. "I noticed," followed by restraint. This is where the real power lives. Imagine this. She opens up to you, shares something personal, You listen. You observe. You say calmly, "I understand." And then you don't immediately lean closer. You don't escalate. You don't try to turn it into a romantic moment. You lean back. You shift the conversation lightly. You let the moment breathe. That controlled pullback creates tension. Because now she feels emotionally connected, but slightly unsure of where she stands with you. That uncertainty activates pursuit. Here's the psychological truth most men fear. When a woman feels fully certain she has you, attraction plateaus. But when she feels seen, understood, and not fully possessed, she leans in. Older men don't cling to emotional moments. They allow them. And then they return to their centered energy. That balance creates polarity. Let's say she tells you she overthinks everything. You smile slightly. "I noticed." Pause. "And I understand." Then you add softly, "But you don't overthink when you're excited about something." Now you've done 3 things at once. You saw her, you validated her, and you challenged her narrative just enough to create intrigue. That tiny challenge is the edge. It says, "I see you clearly, and I'm not intimidated by what I see." Confidence without aggression, insight without control, presence without pressure. That combination is rare, and rare feels valuable. Younger men try to impress her with effort. Older men impress her with perception, because perception feels intimate, and intimacy, when mixed with calm masculinity, turns into desire. Here's what happens internally. She replays your words later, not because they were flashy, but because they were precise. She wonders how you read her so easily. She starts paying attention to how she acts around you. She becomes slightly more aware, more open, more curious, and curiosity leads to investment. Now understand this clearly. These 2 words only work if they're real. You cannot fake observation. You cannot fake emotional stability. Women sense congruence. If your body language is nervous, your voice uncertain, your energy seeking approval, no words will save you. But if your presence is grounded, if you truly observe without judgment, if you understand without trying to fix, those 2 words become magnetic. I noticed. I understand. Simple, but devastatingly effective. Not because they're magical, but because they signal something deeper: attention, emotional intelligence, composure, maturity. And when a woman meets a man who is composed enough to read her without reacting emotionally, she feels both safe and intrigued. And that combination? That's what makes her lean forward instead of pulling away. This is the difference between boys who chase and men who attract. If this opened your eyes, you already know what to do. Stay sharp, stay observant, and never underestimate the power of calm perception. This is Female Code Unlocked. And now you see what most men never will.